welcome to the Ask Me Anything live stream. I think we are live. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay, and if everything is working alright for you. Say hi in the comments, and if you're watching the replay, then let me know whether you're watching live or through the replay. I am really happy to be here and really grateful for all the amazing questions that I received. I'm really excited to dig into each one. Welcome everybody. So while you're hopping on, while people are hopping on, I'm just gonna wait for a second just to give people the chance to say hello. Meanwhile, I'm just gonna look in here. Excellent. So this is an opportunity for you to ask me anything about Qanun, Arabic music, Maqam, performance secrets, practice secrets, anything related to the world of Arabic music and my world really. So I did receive a lot of questions beforehand, so I'm going to start with those. But if there's anything that comes up as I am talking, please go ahead and ask. And I will do my best to answer as many questions as I can during this live. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, let me just introduce myself. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Maya. I'm a Syrian kanun player and a composer, and I have a passion to teach people, learn kanun, maqam in a fun, easy way. And when it comes to learning this tradition, a lot of people fall in love with it, but a lot of people struggle because there are not enough online resources, or not enough there's not enough support, so to translate those grand ideas in a systematic way that anybody understands regardless of where you're from is something that I'm very passionate about. I can see people hopping on. Hi everybody. So okay, I'm gonna start with a very, very frequently asked question. Perhaps this is the most frequently asked question that I receive all the time. And I'm translating from Arabic, so forgive if it's a bit clunky. So, hi Maya. My question for you is regarding a good quality Arabic kanun. Do you think it is better to buy a new one or an old one? So there are different sections to this question. Hey from Texas, Benj, great to have you. Wonderful. So it really depends. When it comes to buying a kanun, there's no black and white, put it that way. And particularly when it comes to buying an Arabic kanun. Reason being, the main cities where qanuns were produced, which are Cairo and Damascus, had disruptions because of the uprisings and qanun. I know, like, for instance, the person who made this qanun doesn't have access to his own tools that he spent years creating, therefore he can't make qanuns. So it really depends. So if you find a good qanun in your local shop, old qanuns have a beauty. Old in music instruments does not equate to bad. Actually, many people think that old instruments are actually have greater value and greater depth to them because they have been played a lot, and it's a bit like wine. I know some of you might not drink, but it's like wine. The older it is, the more valuable it is. So if you're looking at an old kanun, actually, if you're looking at any kanun, you need to look at a certain criteria. You need to make sure there are no fractures whatsoever on the body of the instruments. So when I mean the body, it's this part and the back. No fractures. Just it needs to be intact. Make sure that this part does not have any, it's not fractured, because this is going to be made of fish skin or goat skin. And we have more people. Hi. Pagoda. Holy moly. Amazing. Welcome. So you just need to see that is the instrument in good, the core body of the instrument, is it in good shape? If the strings are old, that is easy. You can replace it. But I'm talking about things that are really hard to work through, like these are big no-nos. So make sure that this is intact, the body of the instrument is intact. Also, a third thing that is a red flag, make sure that these levers are not rusty. Make sure that because you're gonna have to use those, and you should be able to hold them with your thumb and middle finger, like a tweezer. So if they're really hard to hold, that might be also a red flag, because some levers are pointed like this. They're too curved. Some levers are, so the shape is not great. Look for the maker. Is the maker a well-known name? If you're looking for recommendations on Qanun makers, then, because I've received this question so many times, go to qanunsecrets.com/Qanun makers, and I'll just type it for you, because the way you spell Qanun is with a Q. So I'll just type it in the comments here for you to have it. So qanunsecrets.com/Qanun makers. And I need to update that. So there are makers, in very few makers in Europe, unfortunately, and the vast majority of makers are scattered around the Arab world. So old Qanun, new Qanun, it depends on the quality of the Qanun. It makes no difference whether it's an old or a new Qanun. Okay, as long as you have this checklist, is the body intact? Is the skin here, whether it's fish skin or goat skin, is it intact? Are the levers in good condition? And what else? Yeah, I think these are the three main things. And I mean, you can always order a different set of strings and apply and basically fix them yourself. And I do include recommendations to makers of strings as well in that booklet. So you just go ahead and download it. The link now is in the comments. Okay, so I'm going to continue reading the second half of the question. And again, I'm translating from Arabic, so forgive me if it's not as fluid. Yeah. So he's asking about makers around the world that they can make Qanun to the highest standards. So yeah, as I said, my recommendations are in this booklet. And the one thing that I need to say is that also, like, I found a Qanun in the most unlikely place. If you're, say, you are, hey Andrea, my lovely students are here. So you can find Qanuns in really unlikely places. So I know you are the person who's asking is in Palestine, therefore, that poses a different set of challenges. But don't be scared to ask music connoisseur, because collectors have Qanuns. Even makers also have old Qanuns. that, you know, that they can sort of like retouch and sell. So what I'm trying to communicate here is that the way to purchase a good Arabic Qanun needs talking to people. You need to like call the person, you need to message them on Instagram, you need to message them on Facebook, you need to call them on WhatsApp, which to many people, they find that freaky. It's not a streamlined process like buying a Turkish Qanun. A Turkish Qanun, it's like you're doing grocery shopping. You open the web link, click purchase, end of story. You don't have to talk to anybody. Here, it's just the way it is. So I would say talk to people. Don't worry whether it's an old or a new Qanun. Just make sure that it has the criteria of good quality. And also I'm going to say one last thing, which is not related to this question, but something that will benefit all, hopefully, is that buy Qanun according to where you are in the world. So say if you are in a really humid place, like I had students in Hong Kong and I had students in Singapore posting traumatizing images of the fish skin, you know, completely shattered, completely, you know, broken. And if you live in somewhere where it's very, very humid, go for something with goat skin. Don't go for something with fish skin, because goat skin is thicker and it's harder to, you know, to break or destroy. So I hope this is helpful, Ihab, and yeah, go ahead and download the Qanun Makers guide, which will hopefully give you all my recommended names. Okay, so I have certain questions it's regarding playing the Qanun itself. So again, guys, if there's any follow-up question, I'm gonna answer the questions I have here. And then if there are any follow-up questions, and if you have any questions, just type them in the comments. I'm watching your comments as I speak. Okay, so plucking. I have watched and practiced basic plucking techniques. I'm fine when going slowly, but when I speed up, my left hand's plucking is not always clean. Please advise. Okay, so as humans, we have one hand that is stronger than the other hand. I am right-handed, so my right hand is miles stronger than my left hand. It's normal, okay? Until now, it's still twice as strong. So what you need to really focus on is, and this is something I teach in detail, is that during your morning exercises, during your practice, which, I mean, by the way, there's a video on my YouTube channel called My Practice Formula, which details exactly how you need to structure your practice. So refer to that if you need to dig in more into that. But when you are doing your practice, your morning practice, or whenever you schedule your practice, you just need to do the scales in your right and then your left hand. So, and when you do it with your left hand, it is going to be slower. It's a given. And the sound might not be as clean, and that is due to the fact that it is weaker than your other hand. You sound like you're right-handed. So, so all you have to do is just really be mindful when you're doing your morning exercises of producing a clean sound. So, and you said that it's a problem. When you speed up. Okay, yeah. So this is one of those things so say you're doing your morning exercises and you do it, say 4 times with the right hand and then with the left hand. Just be very mindful of that and try as much as you can to focus on keeping it clean. This is one of those things, Andrea, is that you're gonna have to keep practicing until one day you reach the point where like, ha! It's fine. It's a matter of perseverance and practice. Most people get disheartened so quickly. Unfortunately, because we live in the age of instant gratification, people expect instant results. They think they can master an instrument with the push of a button. It doesn't happen. It's a process. It's a journey. It's a lifelong journey. You don't become a Picasso overnight. Yeah. So this is one of those things. Is that two things? Relax. Make sure that there's no tension. That because from what I've seen from the students, when they try to compensate for not being able to do things, they tense up. The trick is to relax and to keep going. So just and how do you relax? When people approach something that is difficult, they stop breathing. Breathe deep. So yeah, it's a matter of awareness, breathing deeply whenever you get to something that is difficult, and just keep going, because one day you're gonna notice that this problem has decreased dramatically. Can you move down your camera to watch your strings, please? Yes. I thought you were able to see my strings. Let me check here. You should be able to see my strings. I don't know why you can't. Curious. Let me check something. Sorry, guys. But then you can't see my head. Hold on. I think it's fine. Thank you for your patience. Alright, so hopefully you can see my strings now. You don't need to see my full kanun, at least just somewhere in between. Okay, good. Alright, so yeah, relax, breathe, and just keep going, and you will get through it. When learning the skeleton of a piece, should we play it with our dominant hand first to make sure that we are getting the correct notes, or start alternating hands from the beginning? So it really depends on what makes you more comfortable. Well, from what I've seen, specifically for students who are a bit scared of making mistakes and trying to be perfect, which is always, perfection doesn't exist, but it helps them just to locate the notes on the kanun before they can start alternating. Some people are go no, I know what I'm doing, go straight for alternating right left, and naturally this is for stage 1 and 2 on the Qanun success path. And if you don't know what the Qanun success path is, it's a formula of 5 stages that I created that helps you focus on the very few things that are important in each stage of your Qanun evolution, and just forget everything else. So you focus on very few milestones that are important to you, and then just everything else does not exist to you. In the beginning of your Qanun journey, if you are a beginner, you need to alternate. You need to go right, left. So say, yeah? So this is the traditional way. Later on, as you evolve in your Qanun expression and you have more command over your instrument, you can play with just one hand. So here I just played mostly with my right hand, while my left hand was sort of modulating. But for the beginning, it's important to build strength to alternate right, left, right, left. So I would say it's whatever is easier. If you're too scared, go with right. But then the mistake is that many people many people just continue just to play like this, and the left hand almost like it's taking a break. That's a mistake. Once you know where your strings are, you need to alternate. Okay? So in the beginning, yes, just to find your way. Once you have found your way, alternate. Another question is, when starting to add ornamentations, should we begin with just one ornamentation? Example, tremolo, or can we add 2 to 3 types of ornamentation to a piece? A beginner's question. Okay, that's a wonderful question. I mean, these are all wonderful questions. But this is something that is very important. So again, this ties into where you are in the Qanun success path. So in the Qanun success path, you, as I said, if you're a beginner, your priority is just posture, just playing a piece straight away. I don't believe in like spending a million years just, learning theory or doing something that is boring. Ugh, who wants that? You need to play instantly. That's practice and experience is what makes it fun, and what makes it last. Yeah, and so for adding ornamentation, you need to take a very systematic approach. You learn. So if you're stage 2, you start to add 2 basics forms of ornamentation, which is tremolo. We call it a rash in Arabic language, which because in Qanun we cannot sustain, for beginners at least, we cannot sustain a sound. So say like 2 counts, that's it, I pluck, the sound dies out. But a trick to overcome this is to alternate between right and left really quickly, which creates that hum of sound, which we use for, as a form of ornamentation. So at the very beginning, you master one form of ornamentation outside, basically before you practice it away from a piece of music that you are learning. So say you are, what's a beginner form of music? So say, oops. You practice it alone as a scale. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be fast in the beginning. It will get better. Remember, this is a journey, you're not gonna be a Picasso overnight. Never. This does not exist. Anybody who tells you that is kidding. So you practice it in your morning exercises away. You isolate the skill, and then when you feel you have mastered it, then you insert it within the context of a piece that you're already practicing. So say you are practicing ala dal'una. So you basically add it to the longer note. And it doesn't have to be like super fast. It can look like this in the beginning. And that is fine. Once you have mastered that form of ornamentation, you practice another ornamentation technique in isolation. So say in this case it might be grace note. And then once you have mastered it, you put it in, you drop it into the musical piece that you are learning. You never try to do it all at once. This is the path to failure. Number 1, you practice the skeleton, and for those of you who don't know my language, the skeleton of a piece is just basically the melody, the bare bone melody, without any ornamentation, performed in a correct rhythmic manner. So it's just the bare bone thing. It doesn't have any coatings, it doesn't have any layers to it. when you learn a piece, at least if you study with me, I teach you the bare bone, and then we start to dress it with layers. And naturally, once you go to stage 3, then you add more ornamentation techniques, and then you start to drop it into your into the pieces of music that you are learning. And once you go into stage 4, you have, say, 10 ornamentation techniques in your bank, and you start to drop it into your performance. So basically, it's like vocabulary. Ornamentation is like coloring tools, you know? So imagine that you know, the skeleton is a drawing without colors, and the ornamentation is just a way to color things. And these are tools to convey. The more you evolve in your Qanun journey, the more you see that there are tools to communicate certain emotional, certain emotions that you wish to communicate. So you're welcome. Right. So again, as a beginner, if you are stage 1 or 2 on the Qanun success path, you just learn 1 or 2 ornamentation techniques. Period. As you graduate to the others, then you add more. But the step is skeleton, learn the ornamentation in isolation, and then insert it within the context of the piece. Okay? Alright. When I'm learning new pieces on Qanun that I already can sing, should I practice? How should I practice? Sorry. Just focus on the Qanun or Qanun plus singing together? That's a fantastic question. So I mean, this is really interesting because a lot of people, like if you look at the way my, say Umar al-Batsh, you know, this is somebody who created many mushahat, so this is somebody who is extremely prolific in the history of Arabic music. How do you think he taught his students? How do you think he taught somebody like Sabah Fakhri? Do you think that he had sheet music? No. He made them instrumentalists, singers, percussionists, all sing and tap basically the melody. So say if he's teaching them a muwashah, they would have to sing it. So like say if I can't obviously move now because you need to see what I'm doing. So say like I'm learning لما بدأت I'll go لما بدأ يتثنى لما بدأ يتثنى. Once I have this, then I go. You cannot project on an instrument that which you do not have in your body. You cannot. Many of my students, they just go like, oh my gosh, that bit is just horrible, I can't do it. And I go, put your Qanun aside, sing it, tap it, clap it. Obviously in the beginning, you can sing it. And as you are practicing it, you can play and sing. It's actually a fantastic practice that I recommend so much. But make sure that your Qanun is in tune, so you don't practice bad intonation, right? So yes, but the key starts with embodying the music, guys. If you cannot project anything, you cannot project a melody or a rhythm on an instrument unless if you have it in your body. And how do you do that? You sing, you sing, you sing, you sing, you clap. And if you find it difficult, many people they just play the melody and they sing to it. And if you don't like the sound of your own voice, it's fine, you're not alone. I don't like the sound of my own voice. But that's the key to embodying just to embodying the music. This is the key to learning Maqam, this is the key to learning Qanun. It's the key to music, and it's kind of sad that we lost this way because this is the way how the masters used to learn something. Theory came much later. Theory, books about Maqam, or books about theory, and books about how to understand music better, came as a result of a wave that, where the East became fascinated with the West and wanted to copy everything that the West does. And there's so much enrichment that came through this. We had like thousands of musical pieces that would have been lost would they not have been transcribed. But in doing so, certain things were lost, which is this. And I find this such key, in my teachings, because imagine most of my students, and my students are here, are from places, where they did not grow in Arabic music, Some of my students naturally are, but for those who are not, imagine how are you gonna embody it unless if you put it in your body. So, fantastic question. Yes to singing, yes to clapping, and yes to singing and playing at the same time, whichever helps. Fantastic question. Okay, so moving on. Hey Oscar, fantastic. Yeah, so I have one last question, and then feel free to ask me anything in the comments, and I'm happy to help in the best way I can. So, are there any information about tuning good? So this is a composer who wants to write music for Qanun, and this is a question that I get a lot. So she's asking about any information about tuning, good or bad keys for you. Okay, let's start with that. So there's, if you go with, there's no such a thing as good or bad keys, naturally, if you have something like, say, with 6 sharps, I might have to retune, or 8 sharps, then I might have to retune my kanun to accommodate that. But that's not a huge problem, to be honest with you. If that is something that is a need to your compositions. It's just because, for us, at least for Arabic qanuns, just to be very specific, you have, each note has 2 levers up, so there are 4 levers, so the Arabic qanun is a perfect mirror to the theory of Abu Nasr al-Farabi. And if you don't know who Abu Nasr al-Farabi is he's the most important musicologist in the history of Arabic music. He's a person who gave the Qanun its shape, and he has written Al-Musiq al-Kabir, the big musician, who is one of the most important documents about Arabic music, performance, Maqam, etc. Anyway, so he theorizes that the tone in Arabic music is broken into 4 quarters. Imagine it's a cake, and it's 4 slices, and that is manifested perfectly in Qanun. So say I have an E, or a Mi if you study the French system. So I have 4 levers for that. So that's an E, E half flat, E flat, 3/4 flat, double flat. So for the Arabic Qanun, the levers are positioned this way. Every note has 4 levers, but the position of levers differs. So basically all the notes have 2 levers up and 2 levers down, apart from E and B have 4 levers up. So this is something technical that you don't need to worry about, but all I'm saying is that if you write something that has a lot of sharps and a lot of flats, it's possible to play it. Just be mindful that the Qanun player might need to adjust the tuning of his or her instrument. And that is not an issue, but just give them a heads up. In terms of keys, I need to address one thing. So I have been having fun recording a lot for film, for TV lately, and I can't help but notice that most people, whenever they start composing something that sounds Arabic or sounds Middle Eastern, they immediately go to the Maqam Hijaz. So this is, and it has been something that I've been seeing across the board. It's just because it's the most famous maqam, as as a representative of the East, or the exotic East. And forgive me, I'm not making fun or anything. All I'm saying is that there are different maqamat. Yeah, so the mode, or in Arabic music, are called maqam, and the plural is maqamat. So there are different maqamat, so just have a look at the maqamat that exist in Arabic music. The Hijaz is a beautiful, gorgeous maqam that I enjoy composing in. In fact, I have a couple of tracks that I have composed on Maqam Hijaz. It's a beautiful maqam, but it's not the only maqam. Yeah. It's also depends on whether you wanna bring something macrotonal or not. Macrotonal maqamat, so say like Bayati. This maqam is the microtonal maqamat are difficult to harmonize. So if you are looking to write arrangements for harmonies, and textures for a bigger ensemble, the microtonal maqams are harder to harmonize. There are maqamat like the Nahawand, which is the equivalent of it's not the same. Never assume that maqam is the same. The theory of maqam is the same as in Western music as it is in Arabic music. Never assume that. It's completely different, and each maqam has its own character. Even though that you think, oh, so this was like that, and therefore it is logical to think that the same sequence will continue. No. Just because Arabic music is an oral tradition, and it's just because it has been performed in such a way for thousands of years. So yeah, it's so do not assume that things are the same. Yeah, but I'm just giving you an example. So say you have maqam Nahawan. Whoops, wrong lever. Oh yeah, I changed my lever here because I had to tune my C up. Anyway, so, and we have another question. Hi from Mexico. Completely, I love Arabic music, but unfortunately I'm not used to the maqam system. Welcome, Oscar. So yeah, it's so if you are to learn how that works. Let me just finish answering this question and come back to you, Oscar. But this maqam, for the sake of the composers trying to find good or bad scales to write in Arabic music, is very similar to the minor harmonic. Naturally, there are other maqamat. So the beauty of the Qanun is that it can perform anything. I played Bach, Vivaldi. My graduation exam was Vivaldi Concerto Winter with an orchestra, believe it or not. So Anyway, it's not that I'd like to do that again. It was fun, but I wouldn't do it again. But I'm just trying to impress on you that it's a versatile instrument that it can play. It just can move very easily between microtonal and maqamat that are devoid of quarter tones. So it's extremely versatile because of the levers, which are these knobs that you can see on the side. So before you play, for those of you who are not very familiar with Qanun, you set the maqam, you set the scale. Yeah. So say you go back to Bayati. So I adjust my levers, and then as I play, the left hand flicks the levers up and down to modulate. So you see, I was just flicking levers up and down really quick, and because of that, so don't be scared of writing modulations for Qanun. It's extremely capable instrument. Can Qanun players read Western notation? It depends on whether they are classically trained or if they have been traditionally trained. I read Western music, as I said, because I studied at the Higher Institute of Music in Damascus, and before that I had to study 7 years in another institute where I purely studied Western. And then later I studied Arabic music. So not all Qanun players can read Western notation. You have to ask. Good practice for that is that whenever you write in G clef, because the way, don't think of writing for a Qanun player in harmony. Think in more linear terms. Don't think in harmony term. And yeah, so you just need to think that Arabic music is very dependent on a melody. I can read harmonies and chords and all of that, but it's not like you're writing for a pianist. So just keep that in mind. The heavy emphasis when you write would be on the melody, and obviously it depends on your Qanun player, and how capable he or she is in reading music. Then you can add chords here and there, but the flesh of the bulk of what you write needs to be you need to bear in mind that it needs to be more linear and more melody paced and more and also another thing to keep in mind is that the way we think of Arabic music is that written Arabic music, we think of it as a skeleton. We think of it as like a rough guide, and that depends on the context. So say I'm learning a song by Ferouz. If I play it like this, people will laugh at me. People will laugh at me. Do you know why? Because it's plain. There is no ornamentation whatsoever. The way I have to approach this is that I know the skeleton of the melody, but then I add ornamentations myself. This is hugely different from, approaching Western music where every single detail is transcribed. In Arabic music, it's up to the player to add of him or herself to the composition, and naturally we have to respect the the melody and the composer's wishes and the main thing, but in terms of the way how we color it, it really depends. I myself, when I know from myself, if I am playing in a concert, I just play the same phrase differently each time. I just know that, and I'll do things slightly differently each time. And you can ask that of every single performer. Each person performs differently, and it's mainly in how in the nature of ornamentations they add, and in the way they think of the music. So say you have written this very simple phrase, yeah? Okay, so I'll show you 10 ways that you can play this. So I sort of syncopated the rhythm. Yeah? So do you see the gist? I'm just making this up at the top of my head. You can slightly adjust things, and I can go on. And this is one of the main things I ask my students. You need to practice playing one melody in 10 different ways, and then 20 different ways, and then 50 different ways. And the differences doesn't need to be, huge. They can be subtle, as in slightly shifting the rhythm, adding vibrato, adding arpeggios, adding, just different ornamentation. See, I'm just playing with ornamentation, I'm playing with rhythm. So bear that in mind, that whatever you are going to give a kanun player, he or she is going to ornament it in their own way. And I think this is something, at least that's my personal opinion, is to be encouraged. And if you want to be very, very precise, then write the ornamentations, research the ornamentations that are relevant to Arabic music and relevant to Qanun specifically, and then transcribe them. But I recommend the first approach, where you'd ask the player to add the relevant ornamentations. I think this is, I've answered this question. Okay. Oscar, I don't know what are you typing in Mexican. Okay, so let's go back. This is the last question that I can take for today, and hopefully that you found this helpful. So Oscar was asking about the best way to approach Maqam. So this is again something that I get a lot, and it's I'm really passionate about it, as you can see, and it just frustrates me a lot because if you look at the body of literature on Maqam, for the most part, it's very confusing. It's very confusing. I myself, for one, and I am a native Syrian who's classically trained in an instrument that's supposed to be the heart of the ensemble, I struggled, and because people ask me to just to get it, and if you don't, to just get it, as if it's like there's a chip inserted in my brain, and if I didn't get it, then I was stupid. And it just drove me mad. I'm not gonna lie, because I think I was in this second or third year of my studies during the High Institute of Music in Damascus, and there wasn't a clear system, a step-by-step system to understanding Maqam and therefore understanding taqsim. And as a kanun player, trust me, you're expected to do a compelling taqsim. But you have no hope whatsoever of doing a compelling taqsim unless if you know how to do, unless if you know the basics and you have mastered Maqam, in fact. So that's why I have created my own system that makes this beautiful tradition accessible and game-like, and it worked with people who never, who never read music, who never played musical instruments, who are not Arab, just worked, who are old, who are young. It's called the Maqam building block system, and the premise of this system is that, there are the maqamat of Arabic music are made of small mini scales. I call them building blocks. They're exactly like Lego, and you put one piece of Lego with another, you get something, and then you switch that piece of Lego and swap it with something else, and you get something else. And the way to think of Arabic music is not as scales. It's completely incorrect. It's to think of it as chain of building blocks, and each building block has its own unique character. They're almost like people, I just try to visualize them, because some of them are more introverts, and some of them are really, like. Some of them are really sunshiny. And even if you listen to the way they're played, just like the softer ones, they're played in a gentler way. Anyway, it's a long topic. So what you need to study is that you need to, again, going back to the topic of embodying. Number one, embodying the building blocks, the main building blocks that create 99% of Arabic music. How do you embody them? You sing, you sing, you sing, you sing, you sing. Once you have them under your belt, the next step is to learn how to put them together. And you study the main maqamat of Arabic music. There are key maqamat. You learn how they behave. Each maqam behaves differently. It's so easy to assume that, you switch from minor to major. No, it's actually considered to be a very bad modulation route in Arabic music. It's considered to be completely distasteful. So you need to study as if you're learning about characters, or as if you're learning about people, and if you're a visual person like me, you get actually building blocks and you start putting them together, and that's why I certainly encourage my students. And once you have mastered that, then your next step is to learn the maqamat families, which are basically the branches that stem from the main maqamat. And once you have that, then you go into more rare building blocks and rare modulation pathways. It's a system that you have to study in every, and again, going back, if you want to study Qanun, then each one needs to go in one stage. You cannot push it before. So it's just, and it becomes, and it just, everything builds upon everything. And it drives me nuts when people are so discouraged about this, and because it is certainly confusing, and it is certainly something that is very important in Arabic music. Okay, I have some questions. Do you think a Western musician would benefit from learning maqam on a different instrument? Hugely, yes. Yes, Benj, absolutely. Because this will open doors for you. I was in a recording session. I have to finish in 5 minutes, by the way, because my son is coming. But I was in a recording session the other day, and I was with a group of global musicians, and one of them, he is from England, and he was telling me about how his learning of the oud and maqam, and he's opening up a whole new world for him that enriched his own compositions, brought in more session work for him. It depends on your needs, as a musician. But this is something that is extremely rich, and I really recommend that you go into it if you feel the calling to it. I mean, the most important thing is that you love something and you feel attraction to something. So it opens doors in your brain that you didn't think existed. Okay, I have a question. Hi, I play the oud, and it's amazing to hear about the Qanun and your knowledge. Oh, so thank you so much, Zayara. Oh, thank you so much. That's so lovely to hear. Oh, Andrea saying my building block system of learning Maqam is life changing. Bless your heart. Yeah, thank you. It's just something that is so simple and just makes the whole thing so simple. But yeah, thank you. And Andrea is from California, and you can ask her. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for everything. I have a small bit of news that I'd like to share, which is something that my students and my followers have been waiting for forever, which is when are you gonna start, opening stuff to the public and letting us into your world. So on 11th of October, I am going to do a 5-day Learn Qanun from Scratch challenge. I am super excited to do this because, again, there are no many resources that come to teaching Qanun. And if they existed, they mainly depend on the old ways where you have to sort of copy somebody for years and hopefully one day you'll get it. And with this one, with this system, you'll just play Qanun in 5 days, basically. So because I'm going to give you the step-by-step system to do it. No guessing needed and no spending years, thank you. So all you have to do is sign up. The link is under this video. It's kanunsecrets.com/challenge. It's every day on the 11th of October until 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th of October at 7 p.m. London time. And it's very interactive. There will be prizes to win, really cool prizes to win actually, and you'll get the chance to ask me any questions live. So I hope that I'll see as many of you there. Again, the link is under. If there are any questions that you have under, as a result of this discussion, today's discussion, then just feel free to type them in the comments and I will be sure to address them in a forthcoming live stream. Yay! Oh wait, there's one last question. Okay. Oh wait. Muhib, I will have to answer that question on a live, yeah? Because my son is here, and so I'm gonna switch to mama duty. So again, thank you so much for joining. Have a beautiful evening, day, whatever you are, and love you all, and hopefully I'll see you in the challenge. Bye, everybody!